Welcome back to Zach Collect Stuff. We're on our way to the National right now. And I say we because I have my buddy, Will, here.
Hey!
And we're just excited to partake in the National today. It's going to be a pretty fun experience. Will, what are a couple things that you're excited to see at the National today?
Well, I'm kind of hoping, there's always some cool just sports memorabilia to check out. As far as stuff I'm looking for, surprisingly, I have some non-sports stuff, some Bond cards, maybe some Batman cards, but then I'm always up for some Reggie Miller and maybe some Beam Team, some 90s, early 2000 NBA Beam Team inserts.
90s basketball, always super popular. I'm looking for, I think, value box stuff today. Last time, 2 years ago, I went into it looking for just to kind of make a big splash, and the card market is so inflated right now that I don't feel like I can get into a decent card for what I'm willing to pay for it. So I think I'm going to be digging through some value boxes, $5, $10, $20 boxes, and I'm just excited to be around a bunch of like-minded people. If you've never been to the National before, the National Sports Collectors Convention kind of kicks around to a bunch of different venues: Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cleveland, and Chicago. And it's the biggest card show in the country. And so it is quite an experience. If you've never been, you should check it out at some point. But we're excited to go. We're making a day of it. You can't do this in just one day, but we're sure going to try. So stay tuned. I'm going to feature some of the cool stuff that we see, some of the stuff that I pick up, and then I'll highlight everything at the end. There's the line to get in from the outside. Just over there into the lobby. There's the entrance to the National.
Oh, you want to do today?
Star Wars fan.
All right, made it home. I'm going to go through the highlights and the things that I picked up, and then I'll give my reaction to the show. First little lot I picked up, just some Marvel refractors and stuff. Picked up this cool Falcon gold prism. That one's numbered to $3.99. A Kang blue, I can't remember, blue tracks is what they're called. An Uncanny from Topps Finest of Magneto. I thought that was a cool one. A couple Beasts parallels. Acetate, or the clear one, the clear cut. And the blue tracks of Beast. And then I picked up from the same booth this Colson Montgomery from Crusade, Panini Crusade. This is from 2024, but it's numbered 5 of 5. He's come up with the White Sox and he's playing pretty well. I got this all for $20. The sticker price, or their prices that they had themselves on there, was $23. I offered $20. They said, yeah, that's great. Another smaller deal. Picked up some Jeter cards that I do not have in my collection yet. Got this cool Clear Focus Bat Company. Topps Finest features of Garciaparra and Jeter. Pretty neat one there. I like the double-sided on that one. One that I hadn't seen before was this one here. Almost like built like a matchbook, but it's got Sosa on the inside and Jeter on the outside, and I feel like it's really neat. It's got the same legs for the two players. So there's that there. And one thing I didn't notice when I picked it up, it's got this crease through here, which is not cool, but oh well. I got these at a pretty good deal, along with this cool Ken Griffey Jr. Powerline insert. Now, when I think Powerline, I think of the Goofy movie. Great song. But this 1996 Flair Powerline Ken Griffey Jr. super cool card. Pretty sure I paid $10 for all four of these. Another grouping of dollar cards here. Got a cool Shang-Chi, the variant card. Okay, cool Star Rookies Aaron Fisher, and Ultra Stars of Wonder Man, then I got a bunch of the Marvel Platinum refractors that I thought were pretty cool. Multiple Man, Omega Red, Brother Voodoo, Domino, and Vulture, Tarantula. Cool little die cut from Flair Marvel of the Totemic Teams of Karnak. And then a couple of the vintage ones. I got the Flair Marvel Annual and the Fleer Ultra Spider-Man Golden Web. Picked up both of these etched or embossed chrome cards for $1 a piece. Another dollar bin, Tiger Woods Tour Time. Thought that one was pretty neat. Picked up a bunch of these Fleer Marvel Metal in the dollar bins here. Got Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Dr. Octopus. I'm pretty sure I already have that one, but this is one of my favorite card arts of all time. He's got the Spider-Man costume there and his pinchers. I got Junk Pile and Night Thrasher. Very cool embossed Spider-Man card here with Spider-Man and Lizard. A nice Flair Marvel Annual of Scarlet Spider versus Venom. Insert card there. This is from that Metal Spider-Man set that came out a few years ago. This is one of them I did not have for that Marvel Metal Spider-Man. These ones with the white cases are $2 cards now. So Palladium, Colossus. Picked up some cool old Look and Sees. I got the Robert Louis Stevenson and the Kit Carson. And I picked these up to go into my classroom. Since we talk about each one of these presidents, I'm going to put these on the board behind my desk. But these are from the U.S. Presidents set. Again, I didn't really care about condition of these. They're going to be kind of cool to have in my classroom. Cool John Quincy Adams, James K. Polk, Zachary Taylor, William Henry Harrison. There. At the same booth from the last $1 and $2 section, these ones here, the same booth after I made the purchase of the $1 and $2 cards, I noticed that they had $5 sections, and it was a lot of great stuff, vintage non-sport. So I picked up some cool 1976 Marvel stickers. I got a Iceman there, got a couple Daredevils, pretty cool on those ones, and then a 75 of Mr. Fantastic. Those are $5 a piece. I picked up a bunch of these Outer Limits cards. I saw multiple vendors at the show with the complete Outer Limits set, and each of them had the sets listed at least $500. So I think I'm going to build this set over time. I think the artwork is super cool. The content is super cool. It's just like that 50s, 60s sci-fi monster type artwork and photos. So I thought it was pretty neat. So I picked up 7 of these Outer Limits cards. Plotting Destruction, The Prize Catch, Man with Super Sight, You Can't Stop Me, The Night of Terror, The Touch of Death, and Frozen Terror. In the same $5 bins, I picked up these awesome looking 1985 Nintendo caps. Is that what you're going to call them, I guess? But these Super Mario circle cards, I don't know if they're bottle caps or what they are, but 3 different ones. Super neat artwork on them. Early Nintendo collectible stuff here. And then the last from the $5 bin was this 1982 Nintendo, the official Donkey Kong killer. So obviously this is like an early Mario. 1982 is like, is that when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out? Or did it come out in 83? But you can see the Mario looks a little bit different on there. The last thing I picked up from that booth was this great looking Harmon Killebrew Triple Threads Triple Relic, numbered out of 36 for $20. And so every time I made a purchase with this group, with this vendor like this, there was a bunch, I can't remember exactly how much the total was, but he knocked down an even more off of it. And then I had this grouping, which was like $95 in sticker price for them. He said, how about $80? And to top it off at that vendor, not only did I get a great deal on these cards, I also got a free cookie with each purchase I made. So, and his wife had made really good cookies. This lot here was all from one vendor. Kind of a weird one at this vendor because he had all vintage except for this one Caitlin Clark card that he had in there. He had half off all of his cards in there, and even less when it came down to the total value of what I was kind of adding up in there. So got a Caitlin Clark rookie card in there, the Fearless one. Yes, she's in her Iowa jersey, so that's not quite as valuable as the Indiana Fever jersey, but still a really cool card. I'll give that one to one of my daughters. And then I picked up a bunch of cards for my 68 set and my 69 set. So all of these, this one was obviously $2, but by the time he took half off of it, it was $1. All of these were $1 a piece. They were in a binder, and he said, go, feel free to look through it and pick out the ones that you have, that you need. He had them all in numerical order, so it made it really easy for me. I just had my list on my phone. I tore through it, and within 5 minutes, I had picked out these cards to fill into my set. I just now realized that I bought 2 Jack Fisher cards. So, oh well. The 69s that I picked up for my set, picked up the Jim Cott, Clay Dalrymple, and the Rod Carew. Yeah, the Rod Carew's pretty OC, but I'm okay with that because it's Rod Carew. I got it at less than $10 because by the time he added up everything together, it was less than half off. Picked up this cool Phil Esposito, Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Johnny Busick, Boston Bruins team card. Thought that was a really neat vintage hockey card. Got a cool Tony Esposito card there, all from the same vendor, and this great Carl Yastrzemski, 1961. Got some issues on the surface there, but by the time I finished with him, I got all of these cards, all those 68s, got the Carew, got the Yastrzemski, got everything for, I can't even remember, but it was well under 100, probably closer somewhere to like 60 or 70 bucks. It's a great deal for that stack of vintage there to help me with my sets. But I have 4 more here to show you. In one lot, I saw both of these in one of the showcases, and I love Mike Trout and I love Ken Griffey Jr. cards. And so I picked up both of these for $100. The Museum Collection, Ken Griffey Jr. is numbered out of 25, numbered 7 out of 25. He had 75 bucks on it. The Mike Trout had 40 bucks on it, and that's a numbered 11 of 50. I offered him 100 bucks, which is basically $15 off, and he said, yeah, that's totally fine. And so we're both happy with that deal. I got 2 awesome cards for the personal collection. So one of the last vendors that I dealt with, he had some fantastic stuff in his case. Super friendly vendor, older guy. He'd been in the business for years and years, and he understood the way that comps work. He understood the way that like people at shows want a deal. And he didn't have his stuff over market. He didn't have his stuff priced super high like 90% of the vendors did. And I was able to find a couple great deals and just kind of talk with the guy for 5 or 10 minutes about the industry in general and just kind of collecting. And the first one I bought from him was one of my favorite insert sets of all time. 1996 Metal Universe, Ken Griffey Jr. Motherlode. Super cool design. I love the white background with the rainbow foil here. In a PSA 9, a very tough grade for these metal inserts. He had 75 bucks on it. I was looking at comps. Comps were right around 65 to 70. I said, can you get closer to comps? And I said, I'd be willing to pay about 60 bucks. And I was expecting him to come back at 65 or 70, and I would have said yes. He said, how about I do 50 for you? So he sold me this for 50 bucks. I was so excited about that one. Very cool deal, well under comps, which didn't happen very much at the National. And so when I heard that, I started looking around at his other stuff, and I saw this in there. 1956, Willie Mays. Just a beautiful card. 70 years old. Just started discussing it because I had just had an experience at another vendor table where I was looking at a 1954 Willie Mays that was graded a 1. And so I looked up comps on the other one, and the guy that had the 54 Willie Mays had a price tag of 340 bucks on it, but comps on that card were around 160 to 200. There was one weird sale that was at like 270, but that doesn't justify putting a price on your cards of 40% over what recent comps are. And so I started discussing with that guy, hey, this is what comps are for the last 4 sales. I averaged it. I can't remember what the total was, but I would have been willing to spend about, like, over the recent comps, I would have been able to spend right around 200 bucks. I would have paid over the low comps, but I wouldn't have paid high comp. And he was like, but that one's in better condition. That one's centered. And I said, but these are also graded the exact same grade. I can't buy a card at $140 over comps just because you think it's got a higher grade, even though they're in the same SGC 1 holder. It was a tough experience. And then it was followed up by this vendor not too long after that, 5 to 10 minutes, who was more than willing to deal and sell me this card right at comps and just below the most recent comp. And so I ended up getting this card for about $170. I think the recent comps were like $175, $180. And I was more than willing to pay that with him because he was a friendly vendor, somebody who actually brings excitement back to the hobby. He gave me a great deal on the sale before that, and that's how you bring back customers for other sales. I realize that the hobby has money attached to it right now and always has, but you have to take care of people that want to buy from you. And so these two last cards from my purchase there at the National definitely put a positive spin on the entire show for me. So the singles is not all I picked up. I also picked up from one vendor who had just an assortment of random packs. I'm going to use these to make some YouTube shorts. I got these all for $1 a piece. 10 packs, $10. Found a vendor that had these on a show special. I think the comps on this are about $125 to $150. I got this for $99 for this. It's a 1993 Bowman baseball box. Looking for the Derek Jeter in there. Hopefully we get some foil cards, but there could be some pretty big names. Obviously Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer. Love to see some of those big names come out of there, and maybe some foil. The last box I picked up for a rookie card hunt, we're going to go hunting for some Canseco. I think Bo Jackson is in here. Looking for some really cool rookies out of the 1987 Topps. I'm not a fan of the wood grain, but I do love the Bo Jackson Future Star card. I picked up a few of the, for me, the higher dollar packs. I got some 1983 Fleer. We're looking for the Ryan Sandberg, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs in those ones. Some 1982 Donruss. I picked up these 5 here for $50, basically $10 a pack. Got 1984 Topps, looking for the Don Mattingly in there. 1983 Donruss, looking for the Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, Ryan Sandberg in there. And then the 85 Topps Baseball, looking for the Mark McGwire and Roger Clemens out of these ones here. So those are the pickups from the National. All right, so what was my experience at the National? I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I think everybody should experience the National, and I still stand by that. The National is a spectacle. It is an experience within the hobby that shows how healthy our hobby is. The hobby is healthier than I have ever seen it in my lifetime. Even living through the junk era when everybody collected, there was never this much money tossed around in the hobby. I think my mentality going into the National this time was the mentality that I'll take to every National that I go to if I go again. If you're going to the National to get a great deal, the great deals are there. But they're not going to be sitting in this fancy display cases and the ones that look nice. They're going to be buried in the bargain boxes. And so where I found all of my deals that I felt the best about, they were buried in the $5 boxes, the $10 boxes, the $1 boxes. And so I know you don't really go to the National to spend 10 to 15 minutes at a booth digging through a certain few boxes, but that's what it's going to take to find good deals there. Now, the National isn't just about finding single cards. It's about the experience. It's about interacting with people in the hobby that you maybe don't have a chance to interact with or rub shoulders with. If they're big time in the hobby, they're there. Tom Brady was at the National yesterday during the day. His card vault company launched, and they had a huge card vault. I even featured the video of it, or a little picture of the outside of the vault in my video leading up to this. And so every breaker is in there. Every content creator is there. And it's just a big deal to be there. I feel like my approach this time to go to the National and just have zero expectations about what I'm finding, just enjoy the time away and the day out with a buddy that I got to collect with, and just point at cool stuff and say, wow, I saw a game-used Mickey Mantle bat in a case featured by Heritage Auctions. Like, that's super cool to me that I got to see that stuff. And thankfully, I changed my mindset this time to kind of have more of a positive mindset looking at it, and not just looking at it like I didn't get a great deal on a card that I really wanted because it was $140 over comps. I made sure to dig. I made sure to find some deals so that at the end of the day, I felt like I had something that I felt good about coming home with. And now I have packs to create content going forward. I got this great 87 Topps box, even though I'm going to probably throw away most of the base cards. And I got this great 93 Bowman box. But that's going to create some content for me going forward, one pack at a time. And I feel like the National created a different experience for me this time just because I had lower expectations going in than what I did last time. Will I go next year when it's back in Chicago again? Maybe. My dad wants to go. I have another buddy that wants to go. So maybe we end up going. But I think I'm going to approach it in a similar way. Keep this in mind going forward. You're going to run into a lot of rolly bags. And that is one of the banes of my existence, is a rolly bag. Because you trip over them, you back into them, they run over your toes, they run over your calves in the line, in the walkways. I realize that you have a cool collection and you want to take it with you. But the rolly bags are a nuisance in my mind. It makes the congestion of the National even greater. I feel like this experience going forward makes me appreciate the local shows, the small local shows, as well as a show like maybe the Midwest Monster or the Shipshewana show, where there's 200 to 400 tables. You have a lot of good variation, a lot of great cards to dig through, but you don't have all of the corporate investment. You don't have as much markup. I feel like you can find better deals, and it feels a little bit more intimate. I will never speak super poorly of the National because I've had fantastic experiences at the National in the 7 times that I've gone now, and I think I'll keep going. And I want my son to experience the National going forward in the future. Maybe not next year, but maybe the following year after that when he's old enough and able to make it through a huge show like that. But there definitely is just a boom in the market right now, which is fantastic for collectors and fantastic for vendors. But it's also creating people that are kind of money hungry, and you see that push forward in a lot of the vending that you see there. So that's just my take on the show. I don't want this to kind of influence you at all. If you had a blast at the National, that's awesome. Tell me how it was different for you. Like what was so great about the National for you? And I would like to implement some of those tactics going in, because I found a different way to approach it this year that actually made me appreciate it in a different way. Yes, you're going to have congestion. You're going to have tables that you can't make it to. But guess what? There's probably another table with the same card further on down the line. And if it's not, then you can just head back to that table later on when there's nobody at that table. So the National 2025 is in the books for me. It's Friday now. I went to it yesterday on Thursday. But I hope that the rest of you that are going the rest of this weekend have a great experience. I hope you can actually find some avenues through there without bumping into shoulders of a ton of other collectors. And I hope the lines are short for you. As always, thanks for watching Zach Collect Stuff. Keep collecting, have fun, and I'll talk to you real soon. Or maybe I'll see you at the National next year.